Good morning. It's September 28th, 2021, 4:28 a.m. This is my analysis of gold currently. So gold has been in a bearish momentum. Definitely had a bearish sentiment here for these last few weeks. Definitely through the whole month of September, really has been bearish, with a counter trend, but continuation of bearish sentiment. So we're at the very bottom of that range now, as we see, so going out onto the higher time frames. Let me reset the scale here, because this looks ridiculous. Okay, so gotta clear off some of my charts, but you can see here, really since the beginning of the year, I'm sorry, since June of this year, since the beginning of the year, it's really been in a ranging market. Since January this year, it's kind of just been between this level of 1875 to about 1700. So 1875, 1700 has been roughly the range for this whole year. However, since June of this year, it's definitely been a bearish push down. And as we can see here now, in the month of September, we are, getting to the bottom of this support area here, pushing down below that, and it looks like we may possibly retest these lower areas of 1725, perhaps even lower, down to 1700. That's the macro look of what we're doing, obviously. Right now sitting at about 1740. Now, with this in mind, overall it's a bearish trend. When we zoom in a little bit, seeing that in a closer look with a lower time frame, we're seeing here that this push down, it does have a lot of resistance, or a lot of support here actually, that continues to hold it up around this 1740 area. But if we do break below this 1740 area pretty consistently, we get wicks every time we come into this area, but it breaks and has a pretty consistent break. There's really nothing to hold price up until we get to about the 1725 area, roughly. Roughly is what we're going to be looking at, 1720, 1728, 1725, call it. 1725, I do have a major area of resistance here that has been respected since, when was this? Let me see, this was March of this year. So this is an area of resistance that has, and even earlier, not early March, yeah. If we go back, I'm sure at some earlier point, going back to April of 2020, you see that was an area contestant, 1725 area, basically, if you want to just look at it that way. That 1725 psychological area seems to have some significance. So if we see this clean break past this level here of this 1740 area, clean breaking past this, really, obviously I'd like to see a break past, come back up, retest, and continuation down. But nonetheless, breaking through this area here, we're going to be looking for a target in the 1725 neighborhood. Now, zooming in a little bit more on the H1, what do we see in that regard? So, as of right now, for the long-term play, it is bearish. For short-term play, right now, I wouldn't even do a counter trend trade. It just doesn't look, you got a lot of exhaustion. It's a very strong bullish candle after it was pushed all the way down. However, I wouldn't be looking for any buy orders right now. This just looks very weak to me. When you jump down onto the smaller time frames, you see here, there's a lot of, it's making lower lows and lower highs. Really, it would have to break above this, and then really, I wouldn't even get into any long orders here. There's just so much bearish momentum that any moment can just turn back. If I were to be looking for buy orders, really, if I was being smart about it, I would wait for it to break above this area here, break back above this 1750 area, wait for a retest, and then target this area around here, the 1760, go for like 100 pips, 1750 to 1760. There's no indication that's going to happen right now, so that's kind of, reaching a bit. But what looks like, in my opinion, that is going to happen here based off of these continued pushes down, and price keeps pushing this level, come back up, pushing this level, come back up, pushing this level, and now it's come back up. It's broken below this level here, and it's pushed back down again. Actually did make a lower low, technically, based off of, obviously these previous lows. I am going to be looking for price to come back up, retest this area roughly of the 1745 to maybe 1750 area. So looking to do, or looking for price to retest this area, this newfound resistance, which was previously support, and then get pushed back down. So that would really be my idea of what is a stronger possibility of occurring. If that were to happen, let me just zoom out better on the H1 here. Just when I zoom out too much on the H1, it like throws everything off. There we go. It's gonna go up. You see? All right. Well, so all right. Well, you can still see it pretty well, I think. So, oh, there we go. Oh, didn't like that. Didn't like that. Damn it, trading view. All right. So, I will be looking for ideally a retest up into this area. 1745, 1750 area. So let's just lay this out right here. Really, the higher the better, really. I mean, if it goes up to 1750, all depends on obviously what candles print. If it's your candle showing exhaustion, a possible reversal candle forming, and so forth. But assuming that occurs, obviously the higher the better. Really, if it got all the way up here, it would be great, and then drop back down. But just going for the sake of example here, so let's say, around 1750 area, okay? 1750 area, we're looking to set my stop probably around here, which is the previous high. This area around 35 pips, could give it a little bit more, maybe 40 pips, and then I'll be looking to retarget this low that actually just formed on the wick, or I'll be looking to retarget this level right here that I have marked off of previous support and resistance, which that is the 1731. So 1731 level really is what I'd be looking to target, and I can even set my stop a little bit bigger on that front. So again, we're reaching a lot here, projecting a lot here. There's no indication the price is going to reverse to this level specifically. I'm just giving a possible scenario, and obviously depending on where it is. But, ideally this would be a fantastic setup if it were to manifest. Setting 35 pip, even going a little bit further, maybe 40 to 45 pip stop loss in that scenario. But nonetheless, removing the specifics, what I'm looking to do, or I'm looking for price to do at this point, based off of the movement we've been having. Let me just adjust this trend line really quick. Not trend line, sorry, this support resistance line. So basically, based off of what I've been seeing here, movement that I've been seeing, I would expect price to come back up. It's going to push back up. I think it's probably going to come back up around to this level, anywhere from in here to in here, basically, or a little bit higher. So come back up into this area here, retest, be rejected by this previous level of support, which is now resistance, and being pushed back down to retest not only this low, but actually hit this and make a lower low, and then from there obviously see what happens from there. But that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm targeting. If I see something, as time goes on, if I see something really nice and it looks like it's forming with a lot of exhaustion here on the downside, and I see indication that price is going to push back up cleanly and I can get a clean entry, if I were to see a lot of exhaustion forming here and get an entry around the 1740 mark, maybe consider a short-term counter trend trade. Let's say, just as an example, 1740. Just an example again, just an idea. 1740. Oh, whoops. 1 second here. All right, so around 1740, we're going to put the order. We're going to target the top of this range here, which really isn't even the top, but it's next major level of support and resistance. The blue lines, I mark them off, or I designate them as daily support and resistance lines. Actually, the blacks are just random lines. So I would then set my stop. Oh, if I could grab it without grabbing something else. I will set my stop somewhere around here. 35 pips, that's 40 pips, 35 pips. I'll say by 35 pips. You know, if price were to reverse back down, the trade would be invalid. It would be going in a direction, the macro direction that I'm talking about. However, if that were not to occur, I mean, if we were to get entry somewhere around here, the 1740 area, I'll just try to ride it up to about 1750, roughly. So 1750, 1751, and see what happens from there. Probably just close out at that point, but that would be something to consider, possibly for a short-term counter trend trade, depending on what forms here in the next couple hours. 4:30 a.m. Let's see what we have for news today. Okay, so at 10 a.m. Chairman Powell is speaking, so something to keep in mind. Sometimes, depending on, it's not FOMC week this week or anything of that nature, but depending on what he says, prices might jump around a bit. So, tomorrow also he speaks again, 11:45. Is this FOMC week? I don't think it is. Let's see. Maybe it is. No. Let me see. Yeah, no, FOMC was last week. Okay, so, anyways, but point is, what I'm trying to say is that, we got news the rest of the week, but anyways, nothing too major, but depending on this, I mean, prices might jump around a bit, so that's the only point I'm trying to make. Therefore, I'd like to see some, if I was going to go for that counter trend trade, I'd like to see some of this exhaustion forming in the next, realistically, like 2-3 hours. Get in by 6, 7 at the latest, and then ride it up to about 9, 10 o'clock, if that's what's going to happen. But again, no real clear indication of that right now. I'm just kind of thinking of potential possibilities. So with that, that's my analysis of gold. I mean, overall, definitely we are in a bearish push down. Overall, the smarter, more calculated trade will be to wait for a push up from the current area where it is, push up to, as I said, anywhere from 1745, 1750, and then look for a reversal pattern forming, and then getting back in on the continuation of the overall trend, which is definitely 100% right now bearish. Or if we want to be a little bit more aggressive, look for some exhaustion here and try to catch a smaller push back up until price, does reverse, which it looks like it is going to reverse. To give you an idea, and I'll leave you with this, for it to really be, like bearish, like it's really bearish, or excuse me, it's really pushing now to a bullish bias, we would have to break, in my opinion, a minimum of, not even really, this is minor, 1760, really around here, around 1780. If we were to break above this 1780, then getting above this 1800 level, then we could be talking about maybe a real shift in momentum. But overall, I mean, it's definitely still very bearish. So that's my analysis for today. So leave any comments that you have, and with that, have a fantastic trading day. Go out there and make a bag. Talk to you soon.